is a guy that thinks he's fly and is also known as a buster.
Action.
All right. I'm Ren,
I'm Stimpy.
and we're going to be doing take 2 of our the great tampon debate of 2019. We're going to talk about tampons and why they're not suitable for hemorrhage control. We're also going to talk about different types of suitable devices or interventions that you can use for hemorrhage control. So Stimpy over here, again, I'm Ren. Between the two of us, we have, I don't know, about 6 months worth of medicine between the two of us. So not a lot of experience to draw from, but you know, enough to try to figure this out in this little scientific endeavor that we're going to do today.
So we'll talk about a bunch of the different training stuff that we have because we've never done this on real people before. So we're gonna do it on simulation stuff, just like most of the keyboardologists do that like to talk about stuff. So there's two different aspects of the debate. One, that the tampon can hold a lot of blood inside of a GSW. Another aspect of that is a tampon is great for life-saving measures inside of a GSW, even if you add more than one. So we'll talk about blood soakage and then actual tampon being inside of a GSW. So real quick, like I said, I'm new to medicine. I don't know anything about medicine, so we're just going to talk about research. So inside of research, the tampon was designed to fit inside of the vaginal cavity, not deep tissue anywhere up inside, up into the uterus or into the cervix. However, if you look at this other diagram, you can see that the tampon is there solely to soak up drips and or small amounts of flow for blood. So per statistics on the internet, your max blood flow during your menstrual cycle is 60 ml plus or minus 20 ml, and that lasts 2 to 7 days. They recommend you change out your tampon every 4 to 8 hours. So for this purpose in this test, we're just gonna say that we're gonna drop 60 ml of blood and have the tampon try to soak it up, which your average GSW to an extremity is 400 to 650 ml, depending on what it hit, nicks, or pokes. So remember, tampon is made to go inside of the vagina, not all the way up in, not deep into the uterus, and it is there not to fill the void, but it is there to just collect the small flow during the menstrual cycle, which is 2 to 7 days. Approximate total amount of blood loss is 60 ml plus or minus 20 ml. Obviously, everyone's menstrual cycle is different. And remember, tampons are supposed to be changed out every 4 to 8 hours. It's not a permanent fixture.
So we also got a letter here from Tampax themselves, stating that their device, it's considered a medical device, it's FDA approved, is strictly for the use of collection of blood during the menstrual cycle, and they do not endorse it for any other type of off-label purposes, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, at least to my knowledge, I'm not aware of any civilian EMS, HEMS unit, or military unit that carries tampons for the use of hemorrhage control. If I'm wrong and your local agency does do that, by all means let us know, because that's, you know, good information. But as far as I know, to my knowledge, and I'm assuming to your knowledge, I've never seen it by a civilian agency.
In my 6 months of experience, I've never seen it. So there's a couple of different things we're gonna do. One, we're gonna be using True Clot blood simulant, which for my unprofessional, extremely junior professional opinion, this is the best blood-like simulant other than animal blood or human blood, which we're not allowed to do that anymore, and finding bums on the corner is frowned upon. But it is very surfactant-y, all right? It's very blood-like, so we'll be using that. We're gonna do 3 different tests. So we're gonna take a tampon and drop it in a cup to see how much it can soak up. We're going to take some Curlex gauze, which is brand new, unused inside of the package, so you can see I'm not altering it. It's not impregnated with kaolin or some magical agent that you think you might know what it is. And then I also have a fresh, I wouldn't say fresh, but it is a semi-fresh Hanes Small Comfort t-shirt, which one of the comments on there also was, oh, well, you know, I would just use a tampon on a child, so we'll just say that this is a small child's t-shirt. and we'll rip it apart and we're going to shove it in the cup and see for the first test which holds more blood. Also, what we're going to do is we have a scale here and we're going to weigh each device unused and then used to see how much blood it actually soaked up.
All right, so while Stimpy's over here getting the blood ready, 60 cc's in 3 different cups to try this out, we have the scale here. I want you to see that we're using standard Curlex. I believe it is still in date, so it's not expired. Not that that truly matters, but just to let you know. It is 4.5 inches wide by 4 1/8 yard long. So,
Long.
yeah,
Math.
long math. It's about 12 feet, give or take. All right, a little over 12 feet. The combat gauze is 3 inches wide, which is a little bit narrower. However, it's 4 yards long, so it's still just under what the Curlex is, but as far as real estate goes, it's really close. And then we have this True Clot simulated hemostatic gauze, which comes with the True Clot blood. I don't think we're gonna use that, but this is 3 inches wide by 12 feet, which is the same as the combat gauze.
So I'm also gonna, because it doesn't have how big it is here on the actual tampon, so we'll just bust this out, pull it out, and we'll work this down. So remember, they're vacuum sealed. We're just going to open this up to see how big it can get. Now remember, tampons are a cotton material, all right, with a tissue-like paper on the outside of it, or if you wanted to say,
I got it.
like cooking sheet tissue, yeah.
But if I was to guess, I would say that this is about the equivalent of 2 to 3 cotton balls. It's kind of hard to open it up, but.
All right, real quick, so I don't know anything about math. 60?
Yeah.
Confirm 60. I'm gonna put 60 in each cup.
All right, here we go. So this is, I got the wrapper off of it. But this is about, I don't know. What do you think? 2, 3 cotton balls? Is that fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to do that. We'd have to weigh it, but we'll go ahead and weigh and see what this weighs in at. So we're in grams. It's zeroed out, scale zeroed out. So the dry weight of the tampon is 3 grams, okay? So we'll use a fresh one for the test. Dry weight of Curlex, 32 grams. And dry weight of Quick Clot or Combat Gauze is 19 grams. Okay, here we'll do. So let's put this up there.
We'll go with half a shirt, because that's what you pulled off your mangled kid. So the half a shirt is 50 grams.
50?
Half a shirt, 50
Can you
grams.
do the Combat Gauze again?
19, 18.
Curlex.
31.
31. Tampon we'll have to do over because
Here.
do a fresh one because they're all different sizes, but more or less they're damn close to the same. So we said 3 grams first time. It's not even weighing in and everything.
Less than a gram.
Wonder why that one came in.
So 3 grams in the capsule.
Try this one.
Hold on. Less than a gram out of the capsule.
Okay. All right. It doesn't matter what.
So those are brand
Whatever
new,
the base weight
unaltered.
is.
I have one more. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and drop this tampon inside of each cup. So I'm going to drop the t-shirt in the cup, I'm gonna drop, can you bust me out some Curlex, like half the roll? So I'll drop the t-shirt in there. I'll drop the tampon so it has the most time to soak up.
I'm just gonna give you the whole thing.
All right, tampon's in there soaking up.
Curlex.
Curlex is in there. Our t-shirt's in there.
Okay. All right, and Curlex.
Yep. Tampon's in there wishing around. So remember, 60 ml of blood, the total menstrual cycle. All right, because one argument that kept consistently being made is it's great for soaking up blood. It's great for soaking up blood. So we're going to put that to the test. I'm going to do, so it hasn't even been like a full minute yet for the Curlex, but I'm going to do the Dairy Queen flip test. See, no blood is coming out, just like no ice cream in your Dairy Queen cup is no coming out. And I'm going to do the same thing for the t-shirt. Nothing is coming out for the t-shirt. So remember, 60 ml of blood. And as you can see in the cup, there's a lot of blood still left in there.
So let's weigh that one first.
Yeah, so we'll weigh, we gotta take it out.
Yeah, put it in here.
Let's do, we'll do the t-shirt first.
Okay, t-shirt first. All right, come take a look at
So
this.
hold on real quick, pulling this out.
We're zeroed out.
Pull the t-shirt out first. As you can see, the t-shirt's soaked, cup is empty. All right.
All right, so we'll weigh this. 110 grams total weight. It was 50 grams dry.
All right, same thing, Curlex. Gonna pull that out. Now obviously I'm giving the tampon enough more time to soak up, but Curlex soaked up, cup empty.
Curlex weighs 90 grams. It was 31 to begin with.
We'll use this to clean this out.
Where is it zeroed? Okay.
And then I'm going to pull the tampon.
So the big thing here is the dry weight for the tampon we put, for that one specifically, came in at 0.
All right, so here's the tampon. It is still dripping. All right, tampon's in there. And I'll show you how much blood is left here in a second.
Hold on a second. All right, negative 27, 24 grams. Again, if I pull this out, that should be zeroed. So it holds 22 grams of fluid.
Pull it off.
No.
And this is how much blood is still left from that 60 ml. So if that was a small pencil wound, or your girlfriend's angry at you and she shot a marble at you or something and there was some massive amount of bleeding, then yeah. So the next test we're gonna do is I'm gonna hook up this blood simulator from TrueClot, and I'll show you essentially how it works right now. All right, and Ryan's gonna be going to pack the wound. So I'm gonna have to apply pressure to this to get it to bleed. So I go ahead and flip it upside down. And if you want to look inside the wound there, as you can see, it fills with blood. And then boom, it bleeds on its own. So what's going to happen is I'm going to step off to the side. The first thing we're going to do is the tampon. So we're going to shove one tampon in, all right, so that the end of the tampon is all the way encapsulated inside of the wound. And then we'll shove a second one in and see how that works. Because remember, we're going to talk about ballistics real quick and what that does. And this is for all the shooter-like people who know a lot about ballistic stuff and paper matching. And if you want to come feel my hand, you can feel how soft and limp it is, because I've never shot a gun before. So what's going to happen is, energy's transferred to the body. This is supposed to be a simple extremity wound. What we would consider anything bigger than a 9, okay? So this is supposed to be a large caliber, so they're assuming a 45. That's the one that we purchased. And we'll go from there. So just imagine that this is a small pocket. It's sprawled as soon as it hit the muscle tissue, and the goal is going to be to pack this in there to apply pressure within inside of the wound, which is the opposite of what happens when you insert a tampon in, because when you drop a tampon, it's not form-fitting like it is when you're packing a wound. When you pack a wound, you're supposed to hit all of the tissue walls, including what we call these rivetations inside of muscle tissue, because if you don't push against that to allow tissue or the gauze to be displaced in there, it will still bleed. So Ryan, if you will, I'm not going to squeeze down on the bottle right now. I'm just gonna let him shove it in there as is. I'll let it sit for about 60 seconds, and then we'll see if it bleeds.
Okay, just one, right?
Just one for now.
Alright. So we're putting the cork in the wine bottle. Okay. I feel like that's long enough time.
Push a little bit more. There we go. All right. So it's in the wound. You had your tampon in your badass first aid kit or your IFAC. Let's just say you bought your own kit because you know it didn't fucking come with tampons. You probably shoved it in there because, again, you're a keyboardologist. You shoved your one trick pony because the tampon is only good for one thing inside of this wound other than what it was intended for, like Tampax or the FDA says for menstrual cycles. You have your GSW and the person's still bleeding. Let's see if they bleed after you shoved your medical device in there. And the wound is still bleeding. All right, let's go ahead and shove another one in there.
Yep. And keep in mind when we did this, it wasn't actively bleeding, so, and it soaked up pretty quick. So let's see if we can. There we go.
All right, so we have both tampons in there now, so we'll just let it sit in there for a second. Again, I'm not squeezing it at all. And good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
And it is still bleeding. And I'm just gently squeezing this right now.
Okay. So take them out?
Yep.
All right.
Boom goes the dynamite.
There's one. There's two. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna add a little bit more blood to our chamber here. And which gauze you wanna use?
I'm already opened this one, so
All right, you're gonna use the...
quick combat gauze. Unless you want me to use something that's not open.
Let's dispel the myths. So everyone's like, oh, combat gauze, that's what it's designed for. We're gonna show you that
keep
if
in
you
mind
properly pack a wound,
Yeah.
even with Curlex or some compression wrapped, and this is fake blood, so obviously it's not gonna have any clotting factors. But what we're gonna do is, again, using the True Blood Simulant, we're just gonna use regular compressed H&H gauze, or I think that was the
That was H&H.
H&H gauze. He's gonna pack this wound. I'm gonna fill the wound again. So remember, I didn't squeeze down on it. He shoved it in there without an active bleed, so I'm gonna refill the blood chamber.
So this is
So as you can see, there's blood dripping out.
compressed gauze, same length, width as before, unimpregnated. But since we're dealing with simulation, impregnated with a hemostatic or not, it's not going to make a big difference. Big thing when you're talking about wound packing is first you need to get as much of the gross clots out of there. So you want to swipe and you want to try to figure out, either visualize or feel, and see if you can determine where the bleed is coming from, so the artery that's been damaged. I like to use something that I call as a speed ball. So I just ball up the first couple inches of gauze in my hand. Wayne uses a technique where he ties a knot in it. Either way, it doesn't matter. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna hand over hand. I'm gonna drive this in there, and then I'm gonna continue to follow it up with more gauze and more gauze until I can't squeeze any more gauze in there.
Let me refill it up, because for the tampon
Yeah.
you just shoved it in. So.
Okay, so he fills it up. So I'm gonna stick my finger in there. I'm gonna evacuate as much as I can, and then I'm gonna continue to pack. Okay. So he's squeezing it.
I'm just letting it go.
Okay. Remember, you might have to get a little rough with it and pull some of the wound edges back to really get the gauze in there.
It's not called gymnastics.
Yeah, it's not called gymnastics. You're not trying to make friends. So, and ultimately what you should feel at the end of this is a very hard, solid mass. Okay, so
For my nautical people, this should feel like a monkey's fist when you press down on there. It should feel rock hard, especially around the wound edges or around in between. And maybe if you rubbed your finger, you were doing wound exploration, you felt the pocket back over here, you should be able to still have it there. So again, I'm gonna squeeze the bottle to see if any blood comes out. No blood comes out. I'm gonna reset the bottle real quick. And I'm gonna squeeze this as hard as I can. So what we're trying to show is that this is such a good plug, all right, that it's actually gonna try to evacuate the whole dressing by shooting it out, which could never happen because it's not like there's gonna be this rapid overpressurization inside of the cardiovascular system. So again, I'm squeezing.
See it bulging up.
And now I have a little bit of blood coming out. So I was squeezing the bag or the, try to get more in there. Oh, we got a bleeder.
Yeah.
So now I left room because I squeezed it and I squeezed it and I squeezed it.
And now it's kind of soaking up so I can get some more in there. Give it a good squeeze while I'm packing it.
All right, I'm gonna be squeezing this just like I was really hard. All right, so I'm squeezing. And I'm physically squeezing and bottle shaking, and there's blood, a little bit of blood coming out, which would not be happening on a regular person because I'm not going to be having this rapid overpressurization. And I let some of the air out.
Okay.
Okay. So, great tampon debate of 2019.
Let's take this out and we'll see. So this is how much we have left, which is really not a lot. Maybe about 1.5 feet, give or take,
Not bad, yeah.
of unused. So I wish we had like a cross section of this wound. So there we go.
Now remember, when you pack the wound, and I've never done this before, when you pack the wound from the inside, the goal, therefore, on an extremity, unless we're talking about the 3 different types of bleeding, so remember my naiveness, because I've never done this before, but we're not so much talking about arterial, venous, and capillary wounds anymore. We're talking about compressible hemorrhage, which is anything on an extremity, non-compressible hemorrhage, which is abdominal and torso trauma, and then lastly, junctional hemorrhage, which there are 5 preventable deaths now on the battlefield or in tactical medicine, which we're talking about airway blockage, tension pneumos, and our bleeds, which are non-compressible torso, which we will bless the saint and talk about Reboa, junctional bleeds, which we have junctional devices, junctional tourniquets, wound packing, hemcon gauze, and then lastly our compressible hemorrhage, which is anything on an extremity, which you can pack, tourniquet, cut off, do whatever you need. So remember, anytime you are properly addressing, because the goal that we talked about, or not the goal, but the methodology that was talked about on the internet was you can use tampons for GSWs on the extremities and stuff like that. Well, if I throw a tampon in here, it's not going to compress the wound from the inside, and then with outside, I shove a bunch of Curlex or hemcon gauze inside of the wound. I pack the wound inside as much as I can, applying that, make a pocket with your hand, that internal pressure, and then the goal, once there's internal pressure, is to condense it from the outside with some compressible gauze, Coban, duct tape, whatever you got. So the goal, inside, outside, which will fully compress the muscle tissue and hopefully stop the bleeding. But this was Dispel tampons. All the keyboardologists that say they work good. If you've ever used a tampon, fucking send pictures. If you're still actively using them, use one on your next GSW and send pictures so we can study it. But for all those who have said they've used it in combat, you're full of fucking shit. I think between the two of us, we got about 30 years military and combat experience, 15 plus deployments between the two of us, over 6,000 flight hours, and definitely over 500 patient transports on a helicopter, not counting what we've done on the ground, or in the civilian world as critical care medics. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's all we got. So if you have any questions, and like we said, if you do have legitimate documentation or pictures or videos of tampons being used where it legitimately occluded blood flow and was used as a hemorrhaging control device, by all means send it our way. We'd love to see it. So that's it. Thanks.